Hello, welcome to the Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob. This is an in-depth review of the Lumineth Realm Lords book. I'll be looking at all of the army rules, and I'll also be looking at all of the war scrolls, and I'll be covering the Army of Renown and Regiments of Renown in a separate video. But TLDR, if you don't really want to watch through all of this book is cracked. It's crazy. You're going to be doing mortal damage at range, mortal damage in combat. You're going to be picking abilities no one else has been able to pick. Your opponent can't stop you. You got incredibly fast units. You got incredibly tanky units. You got mountain men that can bop people on the head. There is a character called the Light of Eltharion, and you're going to make other people call it daddy, because it's going to pop up like your dad. Oh, my dad's going to beat you up, and it's going to pop in and get you. It's going to be very exciting. I want to know what you think about this review in the comments below. That's your opportunity to say, oh, this is what I think of it, Rob. That's what I think of it. I'd love to know, and I'm supported by everyone on Patreon and YouTube membership, so if you want to join up and support me, then please do. Let's jump straight into the review. So the first thing we're going to look at are your faction battle traits. If you've never played Age of Sigmar before and you're jumping in at this point, your battle traits are your army special rules. And for Lumineth Realm Lords, you only have one, and this is the Rune and the Calligraphy special rule. So once per battle round, you can see that rule at the top. Once per battle round for the army at the start of a battle round, which is the start of every battle round, which is a great time, by the way, for this ability to be used. What you're going to do is you're going to put one rune of the 5 available runes on your battle scripture. Now, you're going to need tokens. You need to write this down. It's going to be pretty complicated, because what's going to happen is when you put a rune on your battle scripture, if you put another rune on your battle scripture, it's going to potentially unlock additional special abilities. But we'll kind of cover that when we get there. So, start of each battle round, including battle round 1, bang on a rune onto your battle scripture. Perfect. The effect of the conditional enhanced effects of that rune last for the rest of the battle round. Each rune remains on your battle scripture for the rest of the battle, or until it is removed or replaced by another ability. So your runes are going to give you an effect and potentially some conditional extra effects. They're only going to last until the end of the battle round. But this is super solid, of course, because basically you're going to get to be able to depict these whenever you want. If your opponent's going first, you're still going to get to do your rune, which is great. Okay, so the first rune is Varanor, the Rune of Strength. You pick up to 2 friendly Lumineth Realm Lords units for each instance of this rune depicted on your battle scripture to be the targets. You add 1 to run rolls and charge rolls for each target. In addition, the following enhanced effects apply. Okay, so +1 to run rolls and charge rolls is great. Run up the board, +1 to charge is solid. We love that. Deep strike something or teleport something with +1 to charge makes it an 8-inch charge. That's good as well. Potentially having run and charge really adds +2 to this movement. But it's not maybe amazing, but you might intentionally take this so you can unlock other effects because it will now be on your scripture. So the first one is, while Ydrilan, the Rune of the River, which is one we haven't looked at yet, is depicted in a battle scripture, you add 1 to wound rolls for each of the target's combat attacks. Now that's solid as hell. +1 to wound on 2 units is great. The other one, Uthralle, the Rune of the Wind, if that's already on your battle scripture, then each target can use shoot and or charge abilities, even if it used a retreat ability in the same turn. Now, that's not super helpful unless you are deciding to take Cav or any other units that might get +1 damage or plus damage on the charge, at which point, yeah, you want to retreat those out and charge in. But we need to remember that that's also possible as well. So that's a Rune of Strength. The next one, Ellithor, the Rune of the Mountain, is the one that was featured in the article. And you pick up to 2 friendly Lumineth Realm Lords units for each instance of this rune depicted on your battle scripture to be the targets. Each target has a 5-up ward save, and in addition, the following enhanced effects apply. Well, let's just stop there and just talk about the fact you get a 5-up ward save. This is amazing. Start of the battle round, you're about to charge me. These 2 units, 5-up ward save. I'm not mad at that at all. It's free. It doesn't cost a command point. It's not a spell. It's not a prayer. My opponent can't interact with it. My opponent can't shut it down because it's a command ability. Amazing. So, while Varanor, the Rune of Strength, that's the one we just looked at, is depicted in your battle scripture, the target's melee weapons have anti-charge +1 rend. Now, that's not too spicy, but realistically, your opponent's going first in a turn. You give a unit a 5-up ward save, and hey, if you charge it, I'm also going to get +1 rend. That's not mad at all. That's not bad at all. And then while the Rune of the River is depicted, you can subtract 1 from wound rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they're in combat with any of the targets. Let me just say, I hate that. So you're going to get both of those. -1 to wound is fantastic. Let me just tell you that. It's great, especially sticking on a unit that's now got a 5-up ward save. And we already know Stone Guard, if they have 2 instances of the Rune of the Mountain available to them, also get +1 to their save. So +1 to their save, 5-up ward save, -1 to wound. Pretty solid. Also, if you do finally charge them and do hit them, they're also going to hit you back with +1 rend. Very solid. Then you got the Rune of the River, which is going to unlock the -1 to wound, by the way. If you choose the Rune of the River, then you pick 2 friendly Lumineth Realmlords units, and you subtract 2 from charge rolls for enemy units while they're within 12 inches of any of the targets. In addition, the following enhanced effects apply. Now, this one's incredible. Let's say you're playing against, I've been playing a lot of Grandhammer, Meteoric Grandhammers for Stormcast. I drop 9 inches away, and I move forward a couple of inches. Well, now, guess what? I'm -2 to my charge. That's crazy. Even being 3 inches away, it makes it a 5-inch charge. Also, in addition, if you move up to me, you're 3 inches away, I make a redeploy. Plus this, effectively, I could be adding +8 inches to your charge. Super effective. Really, really effective against the right units. Then the enhanced versions, if you use the Rune of the Mountain, which is the 5-up ward save one, then you can ignore negative modifiers to hit rolls and wound rolls for your attacks made by the targets, which is pretty nice. Your opponents put some sort of debuff on them, or they're -1 to hit or -1 to wound, whatever it might be. Your output is better. Rune of the Wind is depicted in addition on your scripture. Then each target can immediately move up to 3 inches. Okay, I'm going to be really specific about this. If the Rune of the Wind is also on, while you put Rune of the River on, 2 units are going to be immediately moved 3 inches. They can pass through the combat ranges of enemy units and can end that move in combat. That is what we call Murder Lust. It was specifically taken off Khorne, and it was also removed from Orcs because it's so good. Okay? End that move in combat. So at the beginning of the battle round, you can just move 2 units into combat. That's crazy. That's crazy stuff. That means your opponent's going to have to retreat in their turn if that's what they're going to try and do. It means that your opponent can't retreat or do some other shenanigans while you're locked in combat with them. Very strong. Very strong. And finally, or not finally, you got also the Rune of the Wind. You pick up to 2 friendly Lumineth Realmlords units. You subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they're in combat with any of the targets. In addition, you get some other effects. So -1 to hit rolls is really good as well. So destruction, you're playing a destruction force. Hey, by the way, -1 to the charge rolls. However, the enhanced versions, if you've got the Rune of Strength on your scripture as well, then you can add 4 inches to the target's move characteristic. So now if you wanted to, you could have cavalry going crazy far. And then while the Rune of the Mountain is depicted, you can add 5 to each target's control score, which is not terrible, but it is what it is. I don't think anyone likes control store stuff. That one feels really, really solid. -1 to be hit, 4 inches to move. And finally, the last one, Thalari, the Rune of the Zenith, which you would only be doing, I think, at the end. You add 2 to the casting rolls for friendly Lumineth Realmlords units. In addition, if you have 4 or more unique runes depicted on your battle scripture, you can add 4 inches to the move characteristic of all friendly Lumineth Realmlord units, and friendly Lumineth units have crit 5s. So they're critical attacks, which is where you roll a 6 to hit, and it would normally do some sort of effect like crit mortals or exploding 6s. Now it happens on 5s. And the reason they say unique runes, because you can put a rune on your scripture more than once. So if all you want to do is run Stone Guard and give them 5-up ward, 5-up ward, 5-up ward, 5-up ward, you can do that. That's fine. You can absolutely just have that as your list, and you can run it that way. This is going to be complicated to cover. It's super strong. Compared to some of the other battle traits other armies have, it's crazy good. You've got some amazing abilities. You've got the ability to tailor how your army plays against other armies. You've got the ability to add additional effects onto your units as well, which seems good. We haven't even looked at the units yet and see what additional benefits they can get from this. But most of these are very strong. Oh, yes, most of these are very strong. Actually, I may have misspoken. Thalari, Rune of the Zenith, does say if you have 4 or more unique runes depicted on your battle scripture, I guess that means it includes Thalari. So I guess that means you could do it on round 4. That's a good point. That's a good point, because you would have 3 others plus this one, which would be 4. It doesn't say 4 different ones. Okay, that's pretty strong as well. So these feel super strong. They feel, I guess, thematic. They're interesting. They're exciting. They are powerful. I mean, what's not to love? If I was a Lumineth player, I've not done this about any of the other battle traits that we've seen in Age of Sigmar so far. I'd be doing backflips. Before I move on and look at the Shrine Luminor, I've just been having a lot of questions in the chat. So I'm just going to re-clarify again, just in case you're not sure. Battle round 1, you'll put 1 rune on your scripture. And then every following battle round, start of the battle round, you put either a different or the same rune on your scripture as well. But at the end of the game, you'll have put 5 runes on your battle scripture. They can all be the same one, or they could be 5 different ones in whatever order you want to put them on. That's going to unlock the potentially other effects or the additional effects based on you having 1 or more different runes. So I hope that makes a lot of sense. Does feel like the way to go with this is just to put 1 on early that you want the additional bonuses for later. Perfect. Okay, I hope that helps. So next up, for free, although you have to buy it, is your terrain feature, the Shrine Luminor. And this is also gives you some additional bonus rules. Now, what you're able to do is you're able to put a character inside the Shrine Luminor, which has 12 health and a 3-up save, making it one of the more defensible and tanky pieces of terrain that we've seen. It's also got the ability to move. You enter the shrine in the hero phase with a Lumineth Realmlords infantry hero if it starts within 3 inches of it. Then when you're inside of it, you get the Shrine Guardian passive. While you are a Shrine Guardian, the terrain feature has a move characteristic of 6 inches and can use non-command, non-charge move abilities. The Shrine Guardian cannot use move abilities and remains on this terrain feature. Instead of measuring range of visibility to the Shrine Guardian, measure from the terrain feature, and all attacks that would target the Shrine Guardian, target this terrain feature instead. And if it's ever destroyed, you inflict D3 mortal to the Shrine Guardian, and then you try to place it within 3 inches, and if you can't, it's slain. So effectively, it's a pseudo kind of 12 health, 3-up save buff to a infantry hero. Now, you've got a really cool ability called Cleansing Rituals. This is once per turn, as a reaction, you declare a spell ability for a Lumineth Realmlords unit wholly within 12 inches of this terrain feature. And if you do that, while this terrain feature has a Shrine Guardian, you can reroll the casting roll for that spell. So a once per turn reroll casts is very good. That's great. Reroll's not something super common, but casting, normally you get +1s, normally you get like something like that. You don't normally tend to get these rerolls. In addition, this is once per turn, which does mean it's every turn in the hero phase. So that means you can do countercast, which is it's not called countercast, but you can cast in your opponent's turn for a command point, and you can re-roll it, making it more likely to happen even though it's at -1. So that's pretty great. What's also cool about this terrain feature is it's got the cover and it's got the impassable keywords. So with a moving piece of terrain, you've got a moving piece of cover that you can provide to your units to provide like line of sight blocking to your opponent, which is great. So we love that. That's cool. Next up, when you write your army list, you are going to need to choose out of one of 4 different battle formations to represent your army. So the first one, the War Host of Duality, gives you the passive Strike as 1. When players are alternating picking units to use a fight ability, when it is your turn to pick a unit, you can pick 2 friendly Lumineth Realmlords units instead of 1, resolve the second fight ability immediately after the first. So you get 2 units to fight simultaneously. It's cracked. It's so good. It's so strong. Like, it's so good. And I don't know if you noticed, but it's in every turn. So, like, I charge you, you're going to fight and fight again. Okay, this doesn't bring into effect like strike first stuff and a bunch of other stuff. Crazy good. Then you got the Elemental Guardians, and this gives you the ability Ancient Spirits, which you use once per turn in any hero phase. You pick a friendly Lumineth Realmlords monster to be the target, and for the rest of the turn, you ignore the first damage point that would be allocated to each visible friendly Lumineth Realmlords unit in each phase while it's wholly within 12 inches of the target. Now, we already know with Stone Guard, we can make them super tanky. So making a Stone Guard potentially have a 3-up save, a 5-up ward save, -1 to wound, and now the first damage point they take in every single phase is going to be negated because they're going to be next to an Alarith, Spirit of the Mountain. Feels really good. But maybe if you've got like a Horde of Vanari as well, and you just want to pick, it's just Lumineth Realmlords monsters, you pick Teclis, Everything within 12 inches of Teclis is going to also ignore the first pip of damage. Also very good. Then you got the Pilgrims of Hyaxa. This gives you the passive, the Trick of the Light. Friendly Lumineth Realm Lords units can use the Power Through command, which is at the end of the turn, your ability to make a move, basically. Even if they have not charged this turn. Pretty good, especially for the Mountain Boys. And then you've got Scinari Council. This gives you the Arcane Focus passive. Spell abilities from the Lore of Hysh or the Lore of the Awakened Realms, used by friendly Lumineth Realm Lords wizards, have the unlimited keyword. We haven't got there yet, but this means that unlimited keyword, that means every wizard you have can attempt to cast it. Normally, if it doesn't have that, only one wizard in your army can attempt to cast it per turn. This means that all of the spells are all unlimited. So if you've got a lot of wizards, it's a lot of those. However, you cannot pick the same unit to be the target of the same spell ability in the same turn. So you cannot pick the same unit, but you can cast multiple units. You've also got reroll cast from the Shrine Luminor, which is pretty nice. Very strong. Very strong. Very cool. I'll have to see which one is best. I mean, I personally like Fight Twice. We'll have to see how good the spells are for the Scinari Council. I also like the Ignore 1 damage point as well. And I even like the Power Through one. They've all got play, which is not normally what we say about battle formation. So great work there. So on your army list, you are going to be able to pick one of your heroes, not a unique hero. Unique is a keyword found at the bottom of a war scroll. Can't pick any unique hero, but a non-unique hero you can pick to have a heroic trait. It's called an enhancement. There are a couple of enhancements we'll look at, and they're able to take this. So there are 2 good ones and one I hate. So the first one, Masterful Tactician, is a reaction that you can use. You declare a redeploy command for the visible friendly Lumineth Realm, for any visible friendly Lumineth Realm Lords unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit. And it's always a 4. If you roll 1 to 3, it's always a 4 or it's higher. So it's 4 or higher for redeploy. Not very good. It's whatever. Some people like that. I don't like that. Okay, next one. You got Flawless Commander. This is an ability that you use in your deployment phase, and you pick 3, up to 3, friendly Lumineth Realm Lords infantry units wholly within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. Each target can use a normal move ability as if it were your movement phase. So this gives you effectively a pre-game move. On the right battle plans, this means that you're going to be able to move on to objectives in the deployment phase, which means you're going to immediately hold them. You're going to be controlling objectives, which means you can be up on points early. It means your opponent's having to charge you. Loads of cool stuff. It's a very cool ability. It means you can, if you're building aggro infantry, you can kind of move into the mid-board faster. You can screen out from deep striking units as well. A lot of options. And then finally, you've got the Acolytes of the Runes, which is an ability that you use in the start of the battle round. You pick a friendly Lumineth Realm Lord's hero wholly within 12 inches of the unit to be the target. That hero can be picked as an additional target the next time you use to pick the rune ability. So that's pretty cool. You can just pick a hero and just be like, that hero is going to get like another rune. So you're going to get the 5 ward save as an example, or whatever it might be. Pretty nice, pretty cool. I think Acolyte of the Runes and Flawless Commander are going to be great. Masterful Tactician, I can't really see what the point of it is. I guess maybe if there's lots of deep striking, you don't really want anything to do with it, then there's an option there. You want to do some clever redeploys and stuff, I guess this gives you the option to do it. But those are the heroic traits, 2 great ones. Just some quick clarity, actually, on the Acolyte of the Runes. You pick a friendly Lumineth Realm Lord's hero, wholly within 12 inches of this unit. So the Acolyte of the Runes is going to have to go on to a non-unique character, like I said, non-unique hero. But the target can be a unique hero because it's a Lumineth Realm Lord's hero. So you have it on a non-unique hero and you put it on a unique hero, and they can benefit from the Depict the Rune ability. So it's basically bounced onto another unit at the start of the battle round, which also means that you can bounce onto different units if you really wanted to. Why ever you would want to, I don't know, but you could. Potentially giving like retreat and charge to a hero or something similar. Eltharion you could buff up as well. So actually there's a lot of play just there. That's great. Okay, next up on your army list, you're going to be able to pick a non-unique hero, and they're also going to be able to take a different type of enhancement called a Artifact of Power. There are 3 to choose from, and the first one is the Phoenix Stone. The effect is the first time this unit would be destroyed, before removing it from play, you roll a dice. And on a 3-up, this unit is not destroyed, and any remaining damage points inflicted on it have no effect. Then heal D3 to this unit. So that's cool. That's really great. It's also a really tricksy way of shutting down a really high output damage unit. Just put the hero in, they do all of their attacks into it, then you 3-up, and you're still in combat with that unit. It's really cool. It's a cool ability that you can use. Then you've got a passive, you've got Silver Wand, which grants you a passive. And then the effect is if this unit is not a wizard, it can use an unbind ability, so the ability to try and stop a spell, as if it was a wizard one. Otherwise, you add one to the casting rolls for this unit. So you're also going to be able to get +1 to cast from, you're going to be able to get +1 to cast from Teclis, if you have Teclis nearby. If you decide to go for the battle formation where you can cast all the unlimited spells, you're going to have access to that. Near the Shrine Luminor, you're going to be able to do a reroll one of those casts or a failed cast. And then if you decide to do the right rune on your battle scripture, you can potentially have +2 to cast. So you can have a +4 to cast re-rolling wizard in turn 1 if you want to. It's definitely not the most efficient choice, but you can, just to give you some sort of idea. And then finally, you have the Waystone, which is used in your movement phase, and as is being pointed out, is not once per battle, which many of them would be for many other armies. And then you remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up again wholly within friendly territory and more than 9 inches from all enemy units in your movement phase. Okay? Now, teleport back to your territory 9 inches away, which is a great little ability. You could use this to deny a battle tactic, potentially, that your opponent is going after. Very, very tricksy. So I think all 3 of these have got play. All 3. Phoenix Stone is good, Waystone is good, Silver Wand is good. I think all 3 have got play, depending on what sort of army list you're trying to write, which is good. Most armies don't have 3 that are good. The next thing we're going to look at is your spell lore. Now, most armies don't have access to choosing different spell laws, but on your on your army list, you are going to choose from one of your spell laws, and you have access to the lore of Hysh. Okay? And you've also got the Lore of Awakened Realms as well. So there are 3 spells to choose from, and one of them, as you can see here, the unlimited keyword. And like I said earlier, that means every wizard in your army can attempt to cast it, in the hero phase, in your hero phase, can attempt to cast it, which is cool, right? We can't, as the same wizard can't attempt to cast it multiple times, but each wizard can attempt to cast it. And if you take the right battle formation, both Overwhelming Heat and Piercing Refraction can also be unlimited spells. But if you haven't chosen that battle formation, then only Beacon of Hysh is one, and that's fine, because it's insane. It's cast on a 6. You pick a friendly Lumineth Realmlords wizard to cast it, and then you pick a visible, non-monster Lumineth Realmlords unit, wholly within 12, to be the target, and you cast it on a 6. So you've got pluses to cast, and you've got rerolls. The effect is, until the start of your next turn, if the unmodified hit roll for an attack that targets a friendly unit is a 1 or a 1 to 3, the attack fails, and the attack sequence ends. This is bananas stuff. Some units hit on 3s, and then they use all that attack to hit on 2s. Like, this is a -1 to hit your opponent can do nothing about. They can't stack their pluses to hit. Like, this is crazy. Now, destruction players are like, lol, first time, but they're pointed to be terrible, okay? That's just how they work. This is crazy, especially as we know we can already -1 to hit stuff if we really wanted to, who already hit on 4s. We can do -1 to wound. We can give ward saves out. Now, the one silver ray here, I mean, if you're a Lumineth player, you should be kicking your feet like a baby, just giggling, right? If you're not, then it can't go on to monster Lumineth Realmlords units. So the next spell is Overwhelming Heat. Sorry, I'm just going to take a moment to pause and just go back and say that Beacon of Hysh is crazy. Like, crazy. You should all like a Beacon of Hysh, okay? Because life is good. Okay, so the next one is Overwhelming Heat. It's cast on a 7. You pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of the cast. It doesn't have to be wholly within, and that's good. That unit halves you halve the target's move characteristic until the start of your next turn. And then, in addition, roll a dice. If the roll equals or exceeds the target's save characteristic, you inflict D3 more damage on it as well. So half the target's move characteristic is great, especially when, if you wanted to take that trait for the redeploy 4, so now they move half, you redeploy 4, or you decide to choose the rune for -2 to their charge rolls, so that's half their move, -2 to their charge. You can stack all that together, so it can be really difficult for your opponent to get into combat with you. Also, if you take the right battle formation, this can be an unlimited spell, and multiple units can go much slower. And then you've got a Piercing Refraction, which is cast on a 7. This is in your hero phase, and you pick a Lumineth Realmlords wizard to cast it, and then you pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches to be the target. You roll a dice for each one on the target. in the target unit. For each 5+, you inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. Now, these, horde cleary spells are never particularly great, but, a unit of 20 Pestigor, as an example, I'm sure you'll see lots of those. It's going to be 20 dice. You're going to roll, 6 mortals on that point, which is not bad. It's not nice to have not bad to have as a spell. It's definitely not bad to have as an unlimited spell. Just keep popping that on loads of different units if you have multiple casters. Feels pretty nice. You could probably rack up quite a lot of mortal damage that way. It's not that impressive as a single spell. As a spell you can cast multiple times, I think not too bad. Anyway, great spell lore. Obviously, the Beacon of Hysh is just absolutely broke as a joke, which is cool. Let's look at the next spell lore. So our next spell lore, the Lore of the Awakened Realms, has also got 3 spells. The first unlimited spell is only cast on a 6, and it's called Focused Erosion. You pick a Lumineth Realmlord's Wizard to cast it, obviously, then pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of them to be the target. You subtract 1 from the rend characteristic of the target's weapon to start next turn. And that is unlimited, so you can cast it on multiple units. Obviously, if you've got a 3-up save unit, that's great. Now you can all-out defense. You can be -1 to their rend. So even if a unit has rend 2, it could charge into your unit and it could have a 2-up save. Very solid. Very, very solid. The next one, Elemental Push, is crazy good, especially if you start stacking it with loads of other abilities that are in this book, which is kind of what we really wanted from Age of Sigmar, so it's great to see. Elemental Push is cast on a 6, and you pick a friendly Lumineth Realmlord's Wizard to cast the spell, and then you pick a Lumineth Realmlord's unit wholly within 12 inches of them that was not set up this turn. Set up is if you deep strike something or put it in from support or you teleport something. And then you pick that unit to be the target, then you make a casting roll, and you subtract 1 from the roll if that target is in combat. The target can move up to 5 inches. It can pass through the combat ranges of enemy units, but cannot end that move in combat. So there's a couple of things here that are super exciting. Number 1, as a counter spell, you are going to be able to make a unit just get out of dodge, which is good, especially if you want to it's just good. Just good. Get them out of a fight. We love that. That's solid. But where it gets really crazy, if you take the battle formation that lets you pre-game move, or basically deployment phase move, 3 infantry units. So now I've got a unit that's moving 5 inches. Let's pick Stoneguard as an example. They're going to move 5 inches. Okay, great. Well, guess what I'm also going to do? I'm going to choose the rune that potentially, as an enhanced effect, gives me an additional 3-inch move, which is nice. So I'm going to probably have to use some heroes to get both versions of the rune, but there we go. So now I'm moving 8 inches, and now I'm going to cast his spell on them, and they're moving another 5 inches. So I've moved 13 inches in the hero phase. I haven't yet moved, and if you choose... if you potentially choose it so that you can make the spells unlimited, which I don't think you can do both the pre-game move and the unlimited thing, so that won't work. But, you could potentially just have this as an unlimited spell and make multiple units move into hero phase 5 inches, which is also good as well. So quite a lot. You could have the heroic trait. If it's on an infantry unit, you could make them move with the rune and then make this happen. Very, very good. And finally, you got Realm Shield, which is cast on a 7. Pick a Lumineth Realmlord's unit and make a casting roll until the start of next turn. Friendly Lumineth Realmlord's units, wholly within 12 inches, have a 5-up ward save. And this is really nice because it's a spell that means that you can use your runes to do other things if you want to. Or one portion of the board can be protected via runes, and one portion of the board can be protected via the spell. So you've got a lot of options here. You've got to choose between the two. And you can take battle formations that are going to give you either or. And also there are some soggy spells as well from the Scourging Around update. Go back and look at my Scourging Around update review. You can go check that out. There's a 3rd spell lore. So on your army list, you're also going to pick a manifestation lore. There are generic manifestations lore, and I have a review on those somewhere. Go check it out. However, you also have access to your unique manifestation lore, the manifestations of a Hysh. Now, there are 3 spells. The Twin Stones, which help you get pluses to cast or unbind, are cast on a 6. Those are the Hyshian Twin Stones. And you set them up within 18 inches of the caster and visible to them. The Rune of Petrification, which is going to give strike last, is cast on a 7, and you set it up within 12 inches of the caster and visible to them, wholly within 12 inches, which is technically a nerf, because it used to be 18 inches, but if I see a single Lumineth Realmlords player crying, I will flip, because this book is mad. So, wholly within 12 inches of the caster, and that's also going to have a 6-inch effective range, you're going to have a great time with this. This is good. And then finally, there's Summon the Sanctum of Amniotarch, which is cast on a 7. You set the wholly within 12 inches of the caster and more than 3 inches from all enemy units. A Sanctum of Amniotarch has 3 parts that must be touching. And this is going to let you protect a model. So let's go look at the actual spells. So the first one, the Sanctum of Amniotarch, it's got 6 health, a 4-up save, and a 6-up ward save. It's got a passive called the Sigil of Yngria, and while a friendly unit with a health characteristic of 10 or less is wholly inside the ring formed by this manifestation, that unit is not visible to enemy units. And enemy abilities that would target this unit must target the manifestation instead. So you could just kind of protect a wizard or a hero if you want to, which is pretty neat and pretty cool. The next one, the Rune of Petrification, which you set up wholly within 12 inches, but you can set it up right next to the opponent, has got 6 health and a 4-up save, and it's got the ability called Turn to Stone. In any hero phase, which means every hero phase, you can roll a d3 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of this manifestation. On a 2+, you inflict an amount of mortal damage on the enemy unit equal to the roll. If the enemy unit has 3 more damage inflicted on it by this ability, it has strike last for the rest of the turn. Now, obviously, don't forget, you could obviously combo this with the 2-unit strike first battle formation, meaning you can have 2 units strike first, another unit maybe that you're going to charge into has got strike last. The only problem is this is going to require you to roll a 5 or a 6 and your opponent to take all that mortal damage. But it's super strong and good, okay? Super strong, super good, very, very popular, and will continue to be very popular. And then you've got the Hyshian Twin Stones, which has got 5 health, a 4-up save, thank you, Gersey Moore, 5 health, 4-up save, and moves 5 inches. So you're going to have to set up this 9 inches away from enemy units. It's got 2d6 combat attacks, 4s and 4s, no rend damage 1. But what this does is it helps you with your casting and counter casting. It's got a passive called the Reserve of Power, where each time a unit, friendly or enemy, successfully casts a spell while it's within 12 inches of this manifestation, it gives the manifestation 1 arcane charge point. This manifestation can have a maximum of 6 arcane charge points, so super easy to do. And then you can do Release Arcane Charge, which is once per turn for the army as a reaction. You declared a spell or an unbind ability for a Lumineth Realmlord's wizard within 3 inches of the manifestation. Then you can either add this manifestation's arcane charge points to the casting roll or unbinding roll, then reset the manifestation's arcane charge points to 0. So remember our caster from earlier that had a +4 to cast re-rolling? Well, now we can have a +10 to cast re-rolling if we want to. Which is crazy. I mean, this is great for unbinds, especially. Your opponent's like, I'm going to do that great spell or that, whatever they might need, well, you're going to be able to shut that down pretty effectively. And seeing as you've got an army of casters, you're going to be able to power this up pretty quickly. So you can use this either to force through a spell, brute force it through, or just generally threaten to shut down your opponent's casting. Either way, I think these are 3 great manifestations. They're thematic. They work with how the army wants to play, in that you want to protect heroes, you want to fight stuff and maybe make them strike last, and you want to cast spells. But very good. Very good. Crazy strong. Fantastic. Love to see it. Now that we've looked at all the battle traits, we're going to start looking at the heroes that you can take. And it's no finer hero to look at if you're a Lumineth player than Archmage Teclis and Celennar, the Spirit of Hysh. So Archmage Teclis has got 16 health, a 4-up save, and a 5-up ward save. And it moves 10 inches and got control value of 10. So that's great for controlling objectives. That's what control value does. Move 10 is solid. That's nice range. It's not got a super big base. 16 health, 4-up save, 5-up ward save. Very survivable. Very nice. Although we haven't seen many heals yet in the roster. Okay. So we're going to look at the bottom of the War Scroll. You can see a little bit down here. So he's got the War Master keyword, which means he has to be your general and lead your general's regiment, unless you have more than one War Master, in which case you can choose between the 2. It's unique, so you can only have one as a hero. It's a hero as a monster, so you can use anti-monster stuff against some anti-hero stuff. It's also a wizard, power level 4, means it can cast 4 spells in your hero phase. And there's also got the fly keyword and also a 5-up ward save. Speaking of being a wizard, he has the Aura of Celennar, which is a passive that grants +1 to casting rolls and banishment rolls for friendly Lumineth Realmlords wizards while they're wholly within 12 inches of this unit. +1 to cast is great. +1 to banish is also great. You've got loads of spells to potentially cast, and also he's going to give himself +1 to cast. However, in addition, this unit can use spell abilities from the Lore of Hysh, and the Lore of the Awakened Realms, and the War Scrolls of all friendly Lumineth Realmlords wizards while on the battlefield. which means if you wanted to, you could take both those two spells. You could be making a unit hit on 4s. You could be reducing Ren down as well. Those are some great spells. You could run a battle formation where those are unlocked as unlimited. And you could just keep spamming spells. Super solid. However, you've also got a spell called the Light of Truth, which is cast on a 7. Imagine Lord Croak, but Lord Croak is better and is a more reliable caster. This is a spell called the Light of Truth, and you pick any number, just to be clear, of different visible enemy units within 18 inches of this unit to be the target, then make a casting roll of 2d6. Inflict D3 mortal damage on each target. Not a bad D3, not just the good D3. Any number. 10 units, 10 D3 mortals. On average, 20 mortal damage. Guess what you can do? In your next turn, you can spend... I don't think you need me to tell you this. You can spend a command point, and then you have some Hyshian Twin Stones nearby, and then you can give yourself cast this again with +1, -1, +6, and now we've done 40 mortal damage. Okay? Anyway, very solid. He's also got an ability called Archmage, which is once per turn in your hero phase, you can pick one of 2 effects. I can't believe that it's any number. I don't know if I've said that enough times. Instead of making a casting roll for the next spell ability used by this unit this turn, you can use a value of 12 for that roll and cannot be modified. So if you'd like to cast that spell on a 7, you can just be like, bam, here's a 12, I'm going to cast it. The other thing that you can choose in your hero phase, other than cast 1 spell on a 12, and you still have 3 other spells to cast, is pick a visible enemy wizard or priest within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. Then you subtract 1 from the target's power level to a minimum of 0 until the start of next turn. And why that is so cool and good is you can pick an enemy priest that's been saving up its juicy points, and you can just be like, no, you can't do any prayers now. You can't remove their points, but you can reduce their power level so they can't cast a prayer, which is pretty nice as well. Now, as well as all of these abilities, he's also an OK combat character with 2 attacks at Ren 2 that do damage D3 and 5 attacks at Ren 2 that do damage 3 from Celennar. His sword, Teclis' sword, has also got crit mortals, which means if you get the right rune, it could be critting on 5s, which is not too bad. And it's also got a crazy shooting attack, which is 12-inch range. It's only 1 shot, but it's 2s and 2s Ren 2 damage D3 +3. So you basically get a free, incredibly good cannon on top of Teclis and its 4 cast spells. This means you could cast a spell and do a shooting attack, and you could do 9 damage at range before you even get involved in a unit, which is pretty nice. Now, the strongest reason to take Teclis, I mean, I don't know what the strongest reason is, but this one feels good, is the once per battle army ability at the start of the battle round, the Discs of the Elementary. You cannot use this ability in the first battle round, and the effect is you depict a rune of your choice on your battle scripture. So when you depict a rune, like you do at the start of the battle round, which is your battle trait ability, when you depict a rune, you also can potentially have enhanced effects. So depicting a rune gives 2 units an effect. The enhanced effect happen, but do not happen when you use the Discs of the Elementary. So it doesn't happen, okay? So what you're going to be able to do, though, is I think this is right, I think you're going to be able to make that crazy final rune, which is the rune, Thalari, the Rune of the Zenith, which is +2 to casting for all spells. Add 4 inches of move characteristic of all Lumineth units and give them all crit 5s. I think that could happen on turn 3, which is, I guess, cool. Might be turn 4. I'm going to just say turn 4 to be safe. Turn 4 is still great. Turn 3 would be crazy. So all in all, the points are out. I'll be making a separate video, which I put on Patreon and YouTube membership. I'll be making a separate video talking about the tier lists and stuff. And I'm sure there's some lists that don't run Teclis. He's also very expensive, right? 680 points. But like, you get a forecast wizard. I mean, the Light of the Truth alone is potentially, like I said, like, I mean, you're in range of 5 units. On average, that's 10 mortal damage. That's a lot to do into an army. That is a good, decent amount of chip damage that you can do. Every visible unit is crazy. So I think more than worth the value. Crazy good So useful, so much utility, so much spell control with everything being unlimited if you wanted to go that route as well. Fantastic piece, very usable. So our next hero is also another unique hero, very popular, Ellania and Ellathor, the Eclipsian War Sages. So this is a unit that's got 10 health, a 4-up save, and a 5-up ward save, move 6 inches and control value 4. And it's a crazy combat wizard character that's basically got the stat line of a small monster. If you take a look, you can see that is a wizard level 1, and it's also unique. So a great stat line. Now, looking at the range weapon, we've got 3 shots at 12 inches that are 3/3s, 1 rend 1 damage d3. However, they have a sword called the Eltharion, which has got 5 attacks, hitting on 2s, win on 3s, rend 1 damage 2. However, you do have an ability that is going to add the battle round number to this, and that means potentially, on turn 3, this is going to be damage 5 if you want it to be. And then the other weapon is 2 attacks, 3s, 4s, rend 1 damage 3. So in your hero phase, you've got to decide with the equal prodigies effect. You pick whether Ellania or Ellathor is leading. If Ellania is leading, then at the start of your next turn, you add 1 to this unit's power level, making it a 2-cast wizard. Pretty great. And it has a ward of 4+. Very survivable. If Ellathor leads until the start of next turn, add the current battle round number to the damage characteristic of Eltharion, which, damage 3, damage 4, damage 5, all the way up to damage 7 if you want it to be at the end with 5 attacks. It's pretty nice. They also have an ability which is done at the end of any turn called Sudden Translocation. This unit can only use this ability if any enemy models were slain this turn by this unit's combat attacks. You can heal d6 to this unit, which is crazy, then remove it from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units. So this is super good. Get into a combat, teleport away, maybe prepare yourself for another combat, maybe use a hero phase spell to potentially move a unit. 5 inches is also great. And then you get a spell, unique spell available to this unit called Total Eclipse, which is cast on an 8. Until the start of your next turn, the first time an enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit uses a command, unless your opponent spends 1 additional command point, the command has no effect. It still counts as having been used, and the command points spent to use that command are still lost. That's crazy strong. Teclis will also know this spell. You're not going to be able to cast both spells at the same turn if they're on the same board. But that does mean that if you really want Teclis to shut this down, then you can have Teclis cast this on a 12 if you put both of them on the board at the same time. If not, it's just a good, strong spell, which is nice. And it's got access to all of the other spells, including being able to make itself, only hittable on 4s, which is going to increase its survivability as well, or reduce an enemy unit down, rend down, or halving a unit's movement. So either way, these are solid, so effective, so useful. With all of the movement shenanigans and teleporting and stuff you've got kind of in this army already, you can see why they're such an auto pick. Crazy good, very cool, great unit. Next up, if you're a Lumineth Realmlords player, expect to have everybody hate you with the next unit. The Light of Eltharion has got 7 health, a 3-up save, and a 4-up ward save. So very survivable, very, very survivable as a combat character. It's a good stat line. It would be nice to see more kind of melee-centric characters that have stat line like this. Like, it would be cool to see, most infantry heroes have stat lines similar to this, at least. But anyway, I digress. So he's got a shoot in combat ability that's also a shooting attack that's 3 shots, 2s, 3s, rend 2 damage d3, better than most cannons. Then he's also got a sword attack, the Fang Sword of Eltharion, which has got crit 2 hits, which is 5 attacks, 2s, 3s, rend 3, damage 3. And then the Scinari Blade, which is anti-hero and anti-monster. So against the right people, it's going to be +2 rend. And that's 2 attacks, 2s, 3s, rend 1, damage 3. So it's a pretty decent profile. Also, crit 2 hits on the Fang Sword of Eltharion means you can do a hilarious amount of attacks. Now, thanks to the Supreme Swordmaster passive, you can ignore negative modifiers to hit rolls and wound rolls. This unit's combat attacks, which is great, especially for all of the top table Lumineth versus Lumineth games we'd like to see in the future. And then he's got an ability, and I'm just going to be straight up and say, I don't like this ability. And yes, I already know before you say anything that already exists in the game, but it doesn't exist on a weapons platform that is this grade A nuclear weapon. Valorous Intervention is done in any combat phase, which isn't even locked to your combat phase, it's any combat phase. This unit cannot use this ability if it is in combat. You pick a friendly unit that is in combat to be the target. Then remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up again within 1 inch of the target. Yeah, you set it up within 1 inch of the target, and in combat. So basically, you just charge a unit in and you can just add this guy for free. You don't need to worry about the fact it moves 6 inches. You don't need to spend a command point. You don't need to cast a spell. You don't need to run and charge. Counter charge costs 2 CP, but this guy just teleports in for free. And you can just add him into any combat. And what's fun, as long as he's not in combat, it's elective. You're in a combat with some chaff unit you don't care about, whatever, right? Also, if you take the battle formation where you fight 2 units, one after the other, you throw this guy in. If you've got the the Rune of Petrification, you've made a unit strike last because of how late this is done in the game. And it's done in any combat phase. And you've got the spell that you're able to cast in your hero phase or even as a counter spell in your opponent's turn that can move this guy out of combat 5 inches. So you can make massive use of this, and this guy can be in one corner of the board fighting and then in another corner of the board fighting. So they can be everywhere. Like basically any combat that's on the board, this guy's involved. And I feel that's just like too much, if I'm honest. That's a big miss. I would like to see this guy cost, I don't know, 550 points for that ability. I'm going to just put that out there and say that's how much it should cost. Or I'd like to see this changed. I'd probably like to see this changed to roll a dice and also something else. Anyway, but if you're a Lumineth player, it's fucking crazy. Like, go get one of these now from the shop, right? Go have a great time. Next up, we've got the Vanari Lord Regent. So that's the new model that just came out. This is a hero infantry hero model. You could just have as many of these as you like. They're not unique. So it's got 5 health, a 4-up save, move 6 inches. And then he's got 5 attacks that are crit mortals, which is great. Crit mortals on little heroes is great. 3 hits on a 3, wounds on a 4, rend 1, damage 2. But the reason that you're taking this guy is because of both passives that you get. The first one is called the Shining Example, where each time a friendly Lumineth Realmlords unit, wholly within 12 inches of this unit, uses a rally command, you can make 3 additional rally rolls of D6. What's kind of cooked about that is most armies have like, it's normally like an infantry unit can roll 3 additional rally rolls, or sometimes it's keyword locked to this type of unit can add an additional 3. This is any Lumineth Realmlords unit, so this could be Teclis, this could be the mountain, like Alarith Mountains, if you want. So, or sorry, Avlanor, right? And you can, who's already going to be tough to kill anyway, and he's like, cool, now you're rolling 9 dice and you're getting quite a few back. Doesn't cost a command point, that's great. And then you have another ability, which is once per turn for the army in any combat phase, called the Wall of Blades, where you pick a friendly Vanari Ellorian Warden's unit, wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the Wall of Blades. Then pick an enemy unit. Now, normally it would be an enemy unit that charged, but no, this is just pick an enemy unit in combat with the Wall of Blades. Roll a dice for each model in the Wall of Blades that's within 3 inches of the target. For each 5+, you inflict 1 mortal damage on the target. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of potential mortal damage that you can throw back at your opponent. And because it's a combat phase ability, it'll happen before any attacks happen. So when we talk about all these characters, you're not going to have all these characters at the same time, but this guy does something really positive for the army and something really good for Wardens, and that feels pretty great at the points cost that we put this guy in at. So yeah, another great and useful unit. What you're looking for is useful units, and this is one, which is cool. Now, our next hero is Lyrior Uthralle, Warden of Ymetrica, and this is a unique hero that is a level 1 wizard that has got 7 health, 3-up save, it moves 14 inches, which is fast as hell, and control value 2. Now, he's got good combat profile with his sword having 5 attacks, damage 2 with crit mortals, and +1 damage on the charge. And then also his Demon Bane has got +1 rend against demons and +1 damage on the charge as well. So, you know, you can have 5 attacks, damage 3, 2 attacks, damage 3 as well. And then the mount has got some attacks. Now, he's got 2 abilities. And like I said, he's a wizard, and he's got an ability that's cast on a 5 called Focused Fury, which is a spell. And then if you cast the spell, and if you're in combat, you add 2 to the roll to this unit, and this unit has strike first for the rest of the turn. And obviously, you could charge this unit in, strike first, and you can call Big Papa Daddy Eltharion to teleport in and also fight with you, which is quite nice. And then he has the Champion of the Lord Phoenix. This is to do with your battle trait as an ability. While a visible friendly Vanari unit is wholly within 12 inches of this unit, you are treated as having 1 additional instance of the Rune of Strength depicted on your battle scripture for the purposes of ability on that unit's war scroll. So that's going to apply to units like the Bladelords, who they get +1 rend for every instance of the Rune of Strength that is applied. So this is going to give them +1 rend. If you also take us right on your scripture that you've also got the Rune of Strength, and they'll have +2 rend. And then also, if that unit is in the unit that's wholly within 12 inches of this unit, is picked to be the target of the Depict Rune ability, you can apply the enhanced effects of that ability to that unit as if you had the instance of Rune of Strength depicted on your battle scripture. So, for instance, on turn 1, you could pick a unit and you could give them, I don't know, the 5-up ward save if you want to, which is not the Rune of Strength. Then you can give them also the benefits as if any enhanced effects that would also key in with the Rune of Strength. So these are just going to combo really nicely with units that you want to give a couple of buffs to. I think he's okay. He does serve a purpose if you really want to have him as kind of a combat character that's fighting alongside a unit of Vanari. It's pretty cool. Not quite the support piece other units are, but not bad. Next up, we have the Vanari Lord Regent on Lightcourser. This is a 7 health, 3-up save, movement 14 unit. And it's got the Regent Sword, which has got 5 attacks with crit mortals, and it's got 3 attacks, damage 1 with a mount. So it's okay. It's more of a support piece because it's got an ability called Lead the Charge, which is a passive. You can reroll charge rolls for friendly Lumineth Realmlords units while they're wholly within 6 inches of this unit. Now, none of these are keyword locked. So that means it could be a monster if you want to and just reroll the charges for. So, you know, reroll charges is not too bad if you want to play super aggro units. But are you going to pay that many points to reroll charges? I don't know. And then he's also got an ability once per battle in your hero phase. First once per battle I think we've seen. Called Purest Aether Quartz. For the rest of the turn, add 1 to hit rolls to this unit's attacks and subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks that target this unit. I don't think this unit brings enough to the table really as a unit. Unless you just want to go mega aggro and make sure you get all your charges off. But I probably won't be doing this with this unit. Next up, we got the Scinari Enlightener. The Scinari Enlightener is a 2-cast wizard with a unique spell. Its survivability is fine, 5 health on a 5-up save. It's a bit fragile, and it's got some attacks that don't really matter. What does matter is the unique spell it's able to bring, which is the Clarity of Thought that's cast on a 7. Pick a visible friendly Lumineth Realmlords infantry unit wholly within 12 inches until the start of your next turn. Attacks that target that friendly unit cannot score critical hits. Treat them as regular hits instead. Now, this is super good if you're trying to build like a castle army. We've talked about Stone Guard a lot in this video, but Stone Guard, Wardens, or even Riverblade, whatever it might be, you know, what's really nice about this is it's situational. You've got great unlimited spells. If you take the battle formation where they're all unlimited, a 2-cast wizard that can be like that unlimited spell and a different unlimited spell, those are pretty solid to put out there. You know, you could also have it so that a unit of Stone Guard, let me get this right now, is a 3-up save, a 5-up ward save that can only be hit on 4s, that's -1 to wound, that you can score no critical hits against, and your opponent is rend 1 into. That's 6 things I've just said there. Was pretty good. And also, you've charged me, my daddy Eltharion is coming to beat you up. So anyway, and then they've also got another ability. Once per turn, as army reaction, you declared an unlimited spell ability for this unit. So you decide to cast an unlimited spell. If that spell is successfully cast, you roll a dice on a 4. Oh, wait, the Clarity of Thought is already unlimited as well. So it's worth pointing that out as well, which does mean you can cast Clarity of Thought on a unit, and then if Teclis is in your list, you can also cast it with Teclis as well. So now you can do 2 instances of no critical hits on an enemy unit. Back to the Rune of Eltharion, the special ability that you've got for this unit, where once per turn, you declared an unlimited spell for this unit. If that spell is successfully cast, you roll a dice on a 4+. After resolving the effect of that spell, this unit can immediately cast that spell a second time using the same casting roll. Do not count the second spell towards the number of spell abilities this unit can use. So in a cool world with cool guys, you can cast this spell, make a unit have no crit abilities, roll a 4+, make another unit not have any crit abilities, and then have Teclis cast it and have a third unit not have crit abilities. Or in a different world, have a unit that is only hittable on 4s, cast it again on another unit that's only hittable on 4s, and then have another wizard cast it as well. Yeah, and I guess if you really wanted to, you could have a double Enlightener. Like you could have 2 of these, right? But the being able to cast the spell twice is only once per turn army, so you probably should only have 1 of these. Either way, an amazing caster with a super cool ability to really ramp up the power level of your army. The Scinari Loreseeker, very cool, very cool. It's got 5 health, 4-up save, move 6, not got a ward save. So, you know, he's a kind of support caster unit. So he's got a shooting attack that has shooting combat for some reason. That's got 3 shots, 3 3s, rend 1 damage D3. And then he's also got 5 attacks with crit mortals, 3s, 4s, rend 1, damage 2. So just look close to the holy profile. Now he's got an ability called Independent Operative, which is once per battle in the deployment phase, remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield more than 9 inches from all enemy units. Now I'm not 100% certain what the purpose of that would be right now, to be honest. I mean, it's taking some early objectives, someone charges it, and then you bring Big Papa Eltharion in with the combat, something like that. And then you've got an ability called Arcane Discovery, which is a once per battle ability in your movement phase, so once per battle for the army, so you can only do it once. You pick a non-faction terrain feature within 3 inches of this unit to be the target, and for the rest of the battle, you add 1 to the casting rolls for units, friendly and enemy, while they're within 3 inches of the target. So obviously this could stack with Teclis, this could stack with your Rune, so in turn 3 or 4 that you could potentially have +2 to cast. That's a lot of pluses to cast. Also, Shrine Luminor, you get rerolls to go. Pretty nice. So you could pre-game move some infantry units if you wanted to, and also Independent Operative, throw some stuff around. I think it's got some options. What I like about this is I feel like the Loreseeker does something. Many heroes sometimes don't feel like they do anything. This gives me options to do something with it. Doesn't necessarily combo with a ton of stuff, apart from magics, which it does combo with very well. So a great and useful piece that you can use in your army. Our next hero is the Scinari Calligrave, a non-unique hero that's got 5 health, 5 up save. It's also a level 1 wizard. Doesn't really matter about its combat profile, because the reason you're taking it is because of the Realm Scribe ability, which is once per battle army as a reaction to you declared the Depict Rune ability. This allows you to replace 1 instance of a rune on your battle scripture with one of the following: the Rune of Strength, the Rune of River, one of the other runes, basically. So I guess what this does is early on in the game, if I want to, my opponent's going to run a really aggro first turn charge army. So I go for the Rune of the Mountain to make sure I get a 5 up ward save. Cool and safe and comfortable. But I really don't, then it looks like they're going to charge me again in turn 2, but I really want to start getting the buffs like from the Rune of the River as an example. So what I can do is use this guy to make it so the first one that I had, the Rune of the Mountain, is Rune of the River, but I still get to do Rune of the Mountain in turn 2. So that I could get closer to running the best rune on turn 3 or turn 4, depending if I've got Teclis or not. So I guess there's some really cool stuff there. It really depends on if you want to spend additional points on top of Teclis and everything else, because at some point you're just doing the rune stuff and you're not having actual units on the board, which, you know, is a legitimate worry. Plus, you basically already taken Teclis and Eltharion anyway, so you've got enough points spent on heroes. But it's cool, definitely, and it has a use. It's got a great utility, and I'm sure there'll be some cases where people do take it and they utilize that mechanic really well. Next up, we got the Scinari Cathallar. So she has got 5 health and a 6 up save, so it's quite fragile, and got an ability called the Darkness of the Soul, which is once per turn army in your hero phase, pick a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. You can roll a dice on a 3+. The target cannot use commands until the start of your next turn, which is such a long time to use. So yeah, no commands, great, super solid for a bunch of different reasons, very effective, and he's also a level 1 wizard, so you can bring this wizard along for another unlimited spell that you might want to cast to buff up your units. I do worry about how many wizards and stuff you're going to bring, but yeah, it's a level 1 wizard with also an amazing ability. Super good. Next up, we got the Vanari Bannerblade. 5 health, 4 up save. It's got 5 attacks with crit mortals and damage 2, but that's not the reason you're taking him. The reason you're taking the Bannerblade is because of the support it adds to healing in your army, in that it's got the passive, the World Banner. While a visible friendly Lumineth Realmlords unit is wholly within 12 inches of this unit, it can use the rally command even if it is in combat. Which means Teclis, if you wanted to, could get to combat, or some, you know, whatever you want. The Stoneheart King, you know, a big, very difficult to deal with character now for an additional 140 points. You're going to be able to rally in each turn, which is pretty crazy. Obviously, you can bring the other character along, so you can rally 9 dice. It's not keyword locked. It's not just Vanari. So it's any of the Lumineth stuff, which I think, I don't know, the keyword lock stuff, I'm happy to see go away, actually. Good. It just means that the other books are not as good as this. But yeah, cool. Very cool model, very cool rule. Okay, we're going to kind of move from heroes, and we're going to look at some other heroes in a bit, but we're going to start looking at some of the Vanari units. So the first Vanari unit we're going to look at is the Vanari Wardens. This is an infantry unit with 10 models, and you're reinforceable up to a unit of 20 models. And they also have a unit champion, so you're going to get +1 attack. Each one of these models has got 2 attacks each that hit on 3s, wound on 4s, have no rend, and a damage 1. But they've got anti-charge, +1 rend. They've also got crit mortals. So 41 attacks from a reinforced unit with crit mortals. And at some point, you could be critting on 5s potentially. Also, don't forget, if you take the hero from earlier, that allows this unit to also be doing mortals in the combat phase, in every combat phase, to units that are within 3 inches of them, means that this very cheap infantry unit, which is got 1 health each and a 4-up save, and move 6 inches, but you can give them only be hit on 4+s. You can give them -1 to hit. You could give them -1 to wound. You could give them 5-up ward saves, and you can obviously all-out defense them. That's a pretty solid brick. They're also infantry, so you could pre-game move them. Quite a lot of stuff. But they've also got a passive called Anticipated Strike, where if this unit has not charged this turn, you ignore the effect of charge +1 damage ability for combat attacks made by enemy units that target this unit. So they're naturally good at fighting cavalry that don't want to fight them. And I think they're good into pretty much everything, which is nice. And they're cheap. So they're effective, they're cheap, they're cool, they do mortals. Just think about Teclis and 40 of these guys in a line. Teclis can cast a spell that gives a 5-up ward save to all of them if you want to. If you charge any of them, you're going to be hit by a ton of mortal damage. Very effective. Very good unit. Next infantry unit we're going to look at are the Vanari Bladelords. This is a unit of 5 models, reinforceable to a unit of 10 models. Each model has got 2 health and a 4-up save, which makes them quite survivable, especially thanks to the passive, the Guardians of the Scinari, which, while any friendly Scinari heroes are wholly within this unit's combat range, both this unit and those friendly units have a 5-up ward save, which is pretty good because each model's got 2 health and a 4-up save. This means you also don't need to use your runes to give them a 5-up ward save because you've got a spell that gives a 5-up ward save. You also can potentially get another set of 5-up ward saves from the runes, like I said, on other units. So basically just everyone can have a 5-up ward save, just free, which is cool. What's also cool is they've also got crit mortals. So a unit of 5 guys are going to do 15 attacks, 16 if there's a champion. There is, don't worry. And then if you reinforce it up to a unit of 10, you are going to have 31 attacks with crit mortals, which is going to do an average of, 6, which is pretty good. Mortal damage. And then you have another passive called the Masters of Combat, where you add 1 to the rend characteristic of this unit's sun metal blades for each instance of the Rune of Strength that's been depicted. So if you wanted to, you could just have 3 Rune of Strengths on your scripture by turn 3, and now these guys are going to be rend 4. What's interesting about this as well is because it's a passive, you could take multiple units of Bladelords, 2, 3, 4 units of Bladelords, whatever you wanted to do, and every time you put the Rune of Strength on, you're going to be increasing the rend characteristic of each unit of Bladelords. So that means that you could have 2 units of Bladelords that are reinforced, so that'll be 60 attacks, and they all on, on turn 3 could be rend 3, which is pretty punchy. Now, the downside is that they do wound on 4s, which is bad, but there is ways to get them to get +1 to wound, which is pretty good. And ultimately, they got a 5-up ward save if they're just near a character, which makes them very survivable. So pretty great unit as well. Definitely like more output-y than potentially we're going to see from the Wardens, but still very good. Next up, we got the Vanari Dawnriders. So this is a cavalry unit that starts at 5 models and goes up to a unit of 10 models. Each model's got 3 health with a 4-up save, but they move a blistering 14 inches, which is super solid. Obviously, there's reroll charges and other stuff that you can do, as well as spells to move things. But that's fast. That's nice and fast. Now, the Dawnrider Lance and Blade, which is by the Rider, has got charge +1 damage and crit mortals, but they've only got 2 attacks each that hit on 3s. Wound on 4s and rend 1, damage 1. Although that rend actually goes up thanks to the Dawnrider charge passive, where you add 1 to the rend characteristic of this unit's Dawnrider lances and blades if it charged in the same turn. So that does mean you're going to go up to rend 2, and you're also going to have crit mortals. So a reinforced unit of 10 of these guys is going to have 21 attacks. On average, you're going to be getting 3 crit mortals if you haven't already got crits on 5s from the runes. Which means, you're going to be doing an average of 6 mortal damage on the charge and some additional attacks. But I think the strength of this unit here, and the reason it's good it's only got a 4-up save, is because you obviously can give these guys a 5-up ward save. A unit of 10 of these will be 30 health on a 4-up, 5-up, all-out defense, make it so they only be hit on 4s, and just generally bog up your opponent is pretty nice. And now, thanks to the spell that you can cast to make it so a unit can be pulled out of combat, you can make this unit be pulled out of combat, charge back in for that additional damage as well. It's not necessarily going to do the same amount of damage as Bladelords, but it's more mobile, it's punchier, and also don't forget you charge in. Daddy Eltharion's joining in the fight for an adventure as well, which is a nightmare. So very cool, very punchy. They have a purpose, very good. So our next unit is the Vanari Orlan Sentinels. So this is a 10 model infantry missile unit. Sorry about that. That is reinforceable up to unit 20. Their bows, which is the reason you're taking them because they're a missile unit, are 18 inches with crit auto wound. They've got 2 shots that hit on 3s, wound on 4s, rend 1, damage 1. So it does mean a reinforced unit is going to be doing 41 shots, 3s and 4s, rend 1, damage 1. Now they've got an ability called Lofted Shots, which you do in your shooting phase, where you could add 6 inches to the range, and but you have to subtract 1 from the hit rolls this unit's shooting attack. So you can obviously counter deal with that with like all-out attack as an example. They're okay. They're not a powerhouse. They add a lot of shooting. I think in a book that's vying for space, where there's crit mortals everywhere, you've got pretty good damage output, and ranged output is pretty decent from things like magic. I don't think these are hyper necessary, but you could have them in your list. But I don't think that they're bad at all, especially if they end up cheap enough. I think they're currently 140. That's fine. I just think the other stuff is probably cooked for its points. Next up, we've got the Vanari Starshard Ballista. This is a war machine that's got 5 health and a 5-up save, and it's a ranged war machine. So it's got 24-inch shooting attack. It's got 4 attacks with crit 2 hits, and it's got anti-monster plus 1 rend. So it hits on a 3 with those 4 attacks, wounds on a 3, rend 1, damage 2. Now, obviously, if you roll really well with the crit 2 hits, you could spike pretty nicely. It doesn't matter about its combat attacks, but it has 2 passives. First, it's got Scryhawks, where you add 6 inches to the range of this Starshot bolts while holding within 12 inches of a unit of Sentinels. And it's got a once per turn army in any shooting phase blinding bolts attack, where you pick an enemy unit that was targeted by all of this unit's shooting attacks for the phase, and then you roll a dice, and you add 1 if the target's a monster. On a 3+ or 2+ if it's a monster, subtract 1 from hit rolls for the target's attacks for the rest of the turn. And that's not bad. Like, shut down a monster. You know, if this is cheap enough and you can just crit 2 hits a bunch of shots at some stuff, not bad. And obviously, crit 2 hits eventually will be hit on 5s, eventually, if you end up in the right turn and do some ranged output. You know, not bad, not bad. I just feel like in a book, again, that's vying for space for all of the really good units, this one maybe doesn't see play. Next up, we have the Ydrilan Riverblades. I don't think the Ydrilan Riverblades, or whatever. It's a unit of 10 models, and they got 1 health each and a 5-up armor save. They move 7 inches, which is super important. Now, they've got a shooting attack and a combat attack. The shooting attack, the darts, is shooting combat and 10-inch range, so 17 inches at the start is good. They've got 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, no rend damage 1, and the blades in combat are 2 attacks, 3s and 4s, rend 1, damage 1. So it's quite a lot of attacks once you start piling it all up. A lot of dice you can give to your opponent. Now, they have an ability called Travel the Waterways, which is once per turn in your army in your movement phase. Remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up again on the battlefield, wholly within 6 inches of the battlefield edge, more than 9 inches from all enemy units. However, if this battle round you have depicted the Rune of the River, then you can set them up anywhere on the battlefield 9 inches from all enemy units. Now, what's really, really great about this unit is the ability Relentless as the Driving Current, which is once per turn army in any combat phase. If this unit is in combat, it can move 2d6 inches, and it can pass through models in enemy units, but must end that move in combat. I'm going to change this name to the Light of Eltharion Delivery System, where you are going to charge, you're going to then move 2d6, and then you are going to pop Eltharion right next to this unit. That is a huge range of potential like input that you can put like this in. This is such a good combination, like so good, especially if you ended up with like 2 Riverblades units, right? Like you charge with 2 units, your opponent doesn't know which one you're going to move 2d6 with, and you bring Eltharion in. Super cool, very interesting. Again, that's a really nice combo that you can do with some fun stuff. Obviously, you can pre-game move them if you take the right battle formation. So now these guys are going to be moving 7 inches, do some spells from additional movements, activate the right runes and additional movements. So I think on like if you do that combo, you can go 17 inches in the first turn, charge, no, then move in the movement phase, 24 inches, charge 2d6, an average of 7, so that's 31, move 2d6, an average of 38 inches, and then drop an Eltharion right out of your prison pocket into the enemy. Pretty solid. Our next hero is Avlanor, the Stone Heart King. So this is when we're getting into the stone part of the book. Now, Avlanor is a monster and a unique hero, so you're only able to take one of them. Not a wizard or anything, he's a big fighting mountain. His Firesteel hammers are 6 attacks, 4s and 2s, Ren 2, damage 4. But don't worry, we have an ability with the force of a landslide. The effect is you add 1 to the attacks characteristic of this unit's Firesteel hammers for each instance of the rune of the mountain depicted on your battle scripture. This is also true for the other non-unique mountain monsters as well. So this means if you were to take Avlanor and the other mountain goat boys and you just kept spamming mountain runes, you could be doing +1 attack, +1 attack, +1 attack, +1 attack. You know, turn 3, you'd be adding +3 attacks. Although actually that's not true. You'd actually could be +4 attacks because of a passive called the Call of the Mountain. While a visible friendly Alarith unit is wholly within 12 inches, you are treated as having 1 additional instance of the rune of the mountain depicted on your battle scripture for the purposes of abilities on that unit's war scroll. So that means if Avlanor and 2 spirits of the mountain just stood next to each other, they're all going to get, and you'd put rune of, that you do the mountain turn 1, battle round 1, that means they're all going to get +2 attacks. So that would be 8 attacks, hitting on 4s, wounding on 2s, Ren 2, damage 4, with the Firesteel hammers. That feels like a great combat profile. He's also got a shooting attack, that's 1 attack, shooting combat, 3s and 2s, Ren 2, damage D6. Very cool. But that's not all that we've got, because we have an ability called Unbreakable Bulwark, which is once per turn army in any combat phase. If this unit did not charge this turn, pick an enemy unit in combat with it to be the target. You roll a dice, and on a 3+, for the rest of the turn while the enemy unit is in combat with this unit, all attacks made by models in that enemy unit within this unit's combat range must target this unit. Now, it is a 3+ ability, which this book seems to not have many of those of. But this is pretty good because survivability, 16 health, 3-up save, control value 5. Obviously, you can give them a 5-up ward save as well if you really wanted to. So it's going to make these very survivable, very difficult to get past. Bring some wizards along for some spell support, and they're going to be super fine. Yeah, of course, take the battle formation where you fight with 2 units simultaneously. So just have Avlanor and another mountain man just hammering the hell out of stuff. That'll work really well. Okay, so now we're just going to look at the Alarith Spirit of the Mountains. This is the non-hero monster version. And this is 14 health for a 3-up save. You can take multiples of these. They move 6 inches. They've got a control value of 5. They've got 4 attacks with their world hammers. Like I said, for every rune of the mountain you get +1 attack. So, and if you are near Avlanor, it's going to count as having an additional +1. So you're now going to potentially, on turn 1, you can have +2 attacks to their world hammers. On turn 2, it's going to be +3 attacks. So, you know, on turn 1, you're next to Avlanor, you're going to have 6 attacks, hitting on 4s, that is bad, wounding on 2s, Ren 2, damage 5. Pretty decent. Feel like you can run Avlanor and 2 of these guys next to each other. That's going to be a disastrously difficult thing to deal with. They're tough, 14 health, 3-up save. You can give them 5-up ward saves. You can cast spells to get 5-up ward saves. You can do lots of defensive stuff. And then they've got another ability called Rain of Stone, which is once per turn army in any combat phase. You pick an enemy unit in combat with this unit to be the target, roll a d3 and add 2 to the roll if the target charged this turn. On a 2+, inflict an amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll. So again, a unit charges this unit. You just slap them with 3 mountain men. Don't forget, Eltharion will be coming in as well. Take them in the battle formation to fight twice. You could just paint up 3 mountain goats, go hammer people's heads in. That's going to be a great time. Next up, we got the Stone Mage. Stone Mage is a wizard. It's a level 1 support wizard hero that you've got along here. So he's got his own unique spell, cast on a 7 called Raise the Earth, which feels pretty crazy. Pick an objective within 18 inches of this unit to be the target and make a casting roll of 2d6. Until the start of your next turn, each time a non-fly unit, friendly or enemy, that is contesting the target objective uses a move ability, you inflict d6 mortal damage on that unit after the ability has been resolved. So, wow. That is going to be a lot of more damage you could potentially put. You know, if you cast this on an objective your opponent is just near, pile-ins are also going to count for this. D6 mortal damage is quite rare. It's very cool. You've also got an ability called Strength of Stone, which you use once per turn army in any combat phase. You pick a visible friendly Alarith Stone Guard unit wholly within 12 inches of this unit to be the target. And then for the rest of the turn, you add 1 to the Ren characteristic of the target's melee weapon. So +1 Ren to Stone Guard, and the target cannot make pile in. That feels pretty good. +1 rend. That's not bad. It's not bad at all. A level 1 wizard, pretty cheap, supportive, has a crazy spell, Raise the Earth, which feels really nice, very strong. Next up, we're talking about them a lot, the Alarith Stone Guard. So this is a unit of 5 infantry models, combat infantry models. They got 2 health each and a 4-up save, and they move 5 inches. You can reinforce them up to a unit of 10. So they're Stone Guard hammers. They've got 2 attacks each, 3s and 3s, rend 1, damage 2. So not that spicy, really. You know, a unit of 10 is going to be doing 20 attacks, but you can increase their rend with the Wind Mage that we just talked about, so you can go up to rend 2. And they also have a passive, the Fortitude of the Earth, that while you have 2 or more instances of the Rune of the Mountain depicted, then this unit has a save characteristic of 3+. So if you wanted to, you can also bring the Alarith, the Stoneheart King, that's it, Stoneheart King, along with this unit. So turn 1, 5-up ward save. They've got 2 instances of it. They've now got a 3-up save. Cast spells for all sorts of defensive stuff that we talked about earlier. Loads of good defensive stuff if you wanted to. But I guess this book is kind of like, do you want to be super defensive? Or would you like to use things like Bladelords and just do a lot of attacks, crit mortals? Do you want like a big front stone line, or do you want to be teleporting in characters? And do you want to be sniping in the the Light of Eltharion? There are so many options. You can build them castly, you can build them shooty, you can build them much more magic-y if you want to. So some very solid stuff here. Okay, next up we got Sevireth. This is a hero character. Sevireth is a unique character. You can only have 1 of Sevireth. Now, 10 health, 4-up save, and a 5-up ward save is going to make this missile support unit very, very survivable. He's also got move 18 inches and a control value of 5, which is pretty amazing if you're just trying to just grab an objective. Now, as a missile unit, he's got a 15-inch bow attack, which means move 18, shoot 15. That gives you 33-inch effective range. That doesn't include any spells or anything else you've done to move stuff around. Now, his shooting combat bow attack has got 4 attacks, hits on 2s, wins on 3s, is rend 3, and is damage 3. That's pretty decent. Just imagine firing Teclis' spell off and then dropping in potentially 12 damage from Sevireth at range is pretty scary. His combat profile is rubbish because he's meant to be a missile unit, but he still has 6 attacks with crit mortals, lol. Now, like the other kind of leaders of their factions, he's got the Call of the Winds passive, where, while friendly Hurakan units, those are all the units I'm about to cover, hold within 12 inches of this unit, you are treated as having 1 additional instance of Uthralle, Rune of the Wind, depicted on your battle scripture for the purposes of abilities on that unit's war scroll. And then if this unit is picked to be the target of depict rune ability, sorry, if that unit, the unit that you have given the additional bonuses to, then you can also use the improved version. So that's not too bad. This does give you like retreat and shoot, if I remember correctly, which is nice. It's also got the Spirit of the Wind passive or ability, which is used once per turn army in any shooting phase. The effect of the Spirit of the Wind is if this unit used a shoot ability this phase, this is in any shooting phase, once per turn army, this unit can move d6 inches and you add 2 inches for each version of the Rune of the Wind that is on your battle scripture. And it cannot end that move in combat. So, you know, a shoot in your turn, move d6 inches. So it's going to be move 18, shoot d6, shoot, and then move d6 inches. If you've put and also it's always going to be in range of itself for being able to apply the +2, so the wind rune, it's always going to be in range of itself, so it's going to be always d6 +2 basically, which is pretty good. That makes it quite fast, and obviously it's a unit that flies as well, so it's good. And then you have a rampage called Searing Desert Winds, which is once per turn army in any combat phase. You pick up to 3 visible enemy units within 6 inches of this unit to be the target. Within 6 inches is good because it means you do not need to be in combat in order to activate this rampage. And then you roll a d3 for each target. On a 2+, inflicted amount of mortal damage on the target equal to the roll, and subtract 1 from wound rolls for the target's attacks for the rest of the turn. So that's 3 units that can be -1 to wound from this guy, which is very strong as well. So he is anti-melee for your opponent. He's able to do a lot of damage at range. He's fast and has a high control score for grabbing objectives. Feels very good. Next up, we got the Hurakan Windmage, and this is another hero, but it's not unique, and is a level 1 wizard. This character has got 5 health and a 5-up save, and moves 12 inches, which is great. its shooting and combat attack are not really important. What is important is its spell and its once per battle ability, Wind Leap, where you pick up to 3 visible friendly Hurakan units wholly within 12 inches of unit to be the target. And for the rest of the turn, each target can use run and still shoot and or charge in the same turn. And that is not that is keyword locked to Hurakan. So it's only going to be the Hurakan units. But that means they're going to be very fast, which is very nice, especially if you want it to be really aggro turn 1. And you've also got a spell, Transporting Vortex, where you can pick a friendly Lumineth Realmlords unit wholly within 12, and you can take them off the board and teleport them anywhere outside of 9 inches of enemy units. So this gives you access to a teleport as well. I don't think that's bad. I think that's a good war scroll. If you are deciding to build a very specific army, he's going to enter into the list. If you really want that teleport, because you really want that as well, he's going to enter into the list. So 2 good ways of having utility. It's great to see. Next up, we've got the Hurakan Spirit of the Wind as a unit. This is not a hero, but it is a monster with fly. Okay, really good. It's got 8 health, 4 up save, and an inbuilt 5 up ward save. So just good, good, good. Now, its bow attack, which is the reason you're taking it, shoots 15 inches. Its 4 attacks, hits on a 2, wounds on a 3, is Ren 2, damage 2. It actually becomes Ren 3 against monsters and has shooting combat, and also gets +1 damage, or becomes damage 3 if you are targeting a monster. So 4 damage 3, Ren 3 attacks, pretty nice, especially into monsters. Most monsters are not going to like that. However, the other thing that is cool about this is you've got the same ability as Sevireth, which is Spirit of the Wind. If you make a shooting attack in any shooting phase, you can move d6 inches and add 2 for each instance of the Rune of the Wind. But this is also going to take up the same slot as Sevireth because it's once per turn army. So only if you've got Sevireth and a Wind Spirit, only one of the 2 is going to be able to do it. And then lastly, crazy to get this late in the book, the Hurricane Winds is a once per turn army, any shooting phase ability. Pick an enemy unit that had any damage points allocated to this this turn by this unit shooting attacks, and roll a dice on a 3+. The target has strike last for the rest of the turn. Here's an example outside of the Rune of Petrification of another example of strike last, which is wild when you can just teleport in the Light of Eltharion to any unit that you want to. This is so crazy. That's also good. It's great into monsters. It feels such a good unit. There's so much space in this book looking. I mean, imagine taking 2 or 3 of these and you're coming up against a bunch of bloodthirsters. Like, you're just going to be wrecking them, which is super fun. So cool. Very cool unit. Last unit we're going to look at in this book is the Hurakan Windchargers. This unit of 5 missile cavalry, reinforceable up to unit of 10. They've got 3 health each and a 4 up save, which is very respectable, right? That's either going to be 15 or 30 health. No, that's right. No, yeah, 15 or 30 health in the unit. And you can give them a 5 up ward save if you want to. They move 14 inches, which is super fun. If you bring a Wind Mage, you can have run and shoot. So you could be moving 20 inches and shooting 12 inches. Speaking of shooting 12 inches, they have a passive called Guided by the Winds, which is not locked to once per turn army. And then while you have 2 or more instances of the Rune of the Wind depicted on your battle scripture, you can add 6 inches to the range characteristic of this unit's wind charges, which means with Sevireth nearby and doing Rune of the Wind on turn 1, this unit can just be shooting at 18 inches, which is pretty nice. Speaking of their shooting attack, each model has got 3 shots each. They hit on 3s, wound on 4s, a rend 1, and damage 1, with crit auto wound, which does mean a unit of 10 of these could be shooting 31 shots with crit auto wounds, and potentially, if you get up to the right stage in the runes, you could be getting crits on 5s, which is quite a lot for auto wounds. They also have anti-cavalry +1 rend, so they can go up to rend 2, which is pretty good as well. They definitely feel like they can absolutely just yeet a ton of shots at some stuff at range. And I feel like these definitely kick Sentinel's ass. And they're fast. They can move on to objectives. You've got teleport spells for moving them around and a bunch of fun stuff in there. So that is everything that's in this book that isn't the Armies of Renown. It's pretty late. I also want to do the Tzeentch book review. So I'll be doing the Armies of Renown as separate videos, as well as the Regiments of Renown, as well as on Patreon and on YouTube membership. I'll also be doing, because the points are out, I'll also be doing tier lists. Like I did one for Nurgle, I'll do one for these books as well. So if you want to go check them out or support what I do, please do sign up. Okay, so what do we think? Obviously, this is a marked difference to the books that have previously been available for Age of Sigmar. And I think a lot of people are going to be shocked at the sheer level of output. There's only really one thing in here I don't like, which is the Eltharion teleport. That feels like that is too auto good, and I think you'll probably see that end up getting FAQ'd. Teclis is so strong. Eltharion is strong. Feels like the Wind Spirits part is also really good as well, but fair. The Vanari stuff feels good. Most of the characters feel good. Everything I've described has been a bit of everything. The manifestations are also super good as well. Really strong. They've got a great opportunity, and they really combo with how the army works. Twin Stones especially. But even the Rune of Petrification for shutting down, giving strike last out feels good. But you can't put all of those elements into one list. And it does feel, with what Teclis brings to the table, it feels pretty auto. I'm not going to lie to you. Even more than how he's able to manipulate the runes, I just think his base spell is so good. And I know people are going to say, oh, they need to be visible, Rob. They need to be visible. It's a lot of mortal damage, which makes me crazy worried about what Croak's going to be when he eventually comes out. You've got pluses to cast, reroll casts, which is good. You've got great combat units. You've got fast units. You've got shooting units. You've got, the mount. You could just build a mountain list, and it's wicked and fun for sure. I like the runes. It makes your army very adaptable. So unlike other armies where, your abilities kind of run in a line, you as the player get a lot of control of how these things work, which is cool. This is obviously a big difference. It's a big power level difference, but the power also comes from the fact that there are more abilities on the rosters. And I really hope we see that as a continued trend for Age of Sigmar. My only real problem, and I think a lot of people's problem, is going to be that it is a marked difference to the other books. And so that difference is going to cause an issue, I think, because if they were all written like this since the beginning, that would be great. And I don't really advocate for, I feel happy that a book is written with some interesting fucking rules. Good. Good. And long may it continue. Long may we get more. But I'm also like, oh no, what are we going to do? If I was an LRL player now, though, I'm just fucking laughing my ass off, right? So it's going to be good. You're going to have a great time. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed what I did. I'm about to go and do the Tzeentch book. It's 10 o'clock at night, about to start it. Looking forward to it. Loads of love. See you soon. Bye.